There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of Aaron Rodgers interest right now.
So, wait, interest from him or
no,
them?
From them. I mean, he was interested in the Vikings. We find out the Vikings aren't totally interested. It's basically been the Giants and the Steelers that have said, "Oh yeah, we'll take a look at you." And I don't think either one of those are teams that make me feel confident that there's a huge market for Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, so that's interesting because I got the impression that the Vikings were kind of in.
Until yesterday. That was the impression people got, and then the reports came out that, oh, nope, they're sticking with J.J. McCarthy. They're okay. Because, yeah, the Viking chatter had begun yesterday, and by the afternoon, people were saying, nope.
All right, I must have misread that. Because I was like, ooh, okay, I wonder if that actually is a real thing. Like, they really would be in on him after the later... Because it said they're still evaluating their options, including quarterback. That was Rossini, right?
That was earlier in the day.
That was early. Okay, so there was a later one.
There's a later one that said J.J. McCarthy's their guy.
Yeah. Look, I think
that'd be too close to the Brett Favre trajectory.
It'd be the
anyway.
exact trajectory.
Yeah.
Well, although Favre only spent 1 year with the Jets.
Right. But, I mean, so did
Rodgers for the most part, yeah. Look, I think that...
He's going to go to Mississippi and start defrauding people. So that's his next move.
His next step.
And then Mark Gastineau is going to confront him.
Right, yeah, that could be it. So where do you think he is with the Steelers?
My guess at this point is he ends up going to Pittsburgh, is what I would guess happens. Because if you actually are down to Pittsburgh, New York, and Aaron Rodgers has stuck around all this time, for what reason? Like, I mean, is it just to break records, or does he want to win again? Or I would imagine it's to win. Pittsburgh's going to be your best shot.
Pittsburgh's your best shot.
New York's not going to be the spot.
I wouldn't think so. Not unless they have some unique talent that we don't know about because they've been so bad at quarterback for the last 15 years.
Which is
10 years.
Possible.
It's very possible. But, yeah, I think Pittsburgh's the play. It's just I just don't see a fit. I don't see him and Mike Tomlin fitting. I don't see him in
I think they would.
You really do?
Yeah.
Oh, I think Tomlin would just smack him upside the head.
Because I think for all of Aaron Rodgers' like just the way he's eccentric and everything else, the dude is he showed like Green Bay was the comfort spot.
Yeah.
It's some weird opposite
small town
peanut butter and jelly just works. We can't figure out why. It just works.
It just works.
That's Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers just works in those smaller markets.
In those blue collar, there needs to be a steel mill down the road.
Yep.
I want full on smoke coming out of chimneys at all times of the year.
Yeah.
That kind of guy.
He wants to shovel snow on mushrooms. That's what he wants.
That sounds like a wonderful idea.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's
Peyton, you in on that? You want to try that out?
No, I like mushrooms.
That's different kind of mushrooms, Peyton.
Oh.
He wants to be around. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know why it seems to match up for him. Green Bay was a better fit. Pittsburgh feels like a better fit.
It does. It feels like a really. I think Pittsburgh's the play. I think he's just holding him hostage. I just think he wants the discussion to be about him. I think he'll announce today that he's going to Pittsburgh. I think he just wants the discussion to be about him.
Yeah, and that makes sense. He's done that his whole career. He wants everything to be about him, but Pittsburgh just feels like the play. And
are the Steelers going to allow him to do McAfee?
Yeah, they will. I think so.
Man, there's a lot of teams in the NFL.
He did it this week. He seemed very coy. Didn't want to tip too much.
Who's got the worst idea at quarterback? Is it the teams like the Colts and the Steelers that just keep getting these older, rundown, bad, no longer elite quarterbacks? They used to be great.
I mean, Colts tried with Anthony Richardson.
Right, but now they're going back to Daniel Jones.
Right.
So, Colts still like that. Seattle maybe is that worse, or is locking into a top 8 to 15 quarterback for 4 years and 50 to 60 million a year? Like, what's worse?
I don't think it's even close. It's what the Colts do and what the Steelers do.
As opposed to just going back and just starting over and trying to draft somebody.
Just pay the 8 to 15 guy. That's way better than the than what the Colts do. Eli Manning won 2 Super Bowls as a 15 guy.
It's maddening. It's maddening either way.
Yeah, but I mean,
either way. Now the team that's 8-15, you're going to make the playoffs almost every year.
We've seen the guy that wins the Super Bowl's top 15 guy. We don't see the guy who wins who's like the Daniel Jones signing that you're just holding on to,
right?
Whatever the hell the Steelers keep trying to do.
Right, that's right. You don't.
I genuinely don't. I don't know what the Steelers' thought process has been at quarterback at all.
Like I get it with the Rodgers thing. I understand it. He's better than
no, but I don't understand
Fields.
Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, and I don't understand Mason Rudolph. Like they seem to be the only team in the NFL that's like quarterback doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, they absolutely do. You're absolutely right.
And I don't know. I guess that's an Arthur Smith philosophy. I guess it's been a Mike Tomlin philosophy. It's the fact that they only hire defensive coaches, and so they don't seem to care much about how the offense runs. But
your defense, man. I mean, they won 4 Super Bowls with Terry. That ought to tell them everything.
Yeah, because Terry Bradshaw was not winning 4 Super Bowls anywhere else. Other than with the steel curtain.
Anywhere else. Why are the Cowboys not in on Cooper Kupp? What is the latest on Cooper Kupp?
So that's been the chatter the last 24 hours or so. I think that they will be in on
Slater
Cooper.
had a report that they were not in on him, right?
At the moment. They're not in the mix. They will be if... Per usual, if the price comes down.
If the price comes down.
If the price comes down, they'll be in on him. And it's just right now, it's not. He gets released yesterday, so he's officially a free agent after they were unable to trade him from the Rams. But Kupp is just a guy that he's probably looking at a market right now that he thinks he's got more robust options than the Cowboys are willing to pay. Here's the issue, and we've said this about the Cowboys for the last couple days. You have to pay to play.
Yeah.
If you don't want to play, here's the thing. If you don't want to pay market value, which is above what you think, it's like dealing with my wife on
They have their own market.
Kristen has her own ideas on how much things should cost, and she refuses to pay for them if they're above it. It's like, well, sorry, that's not how much the world says they cost. So you just are saying you don't want that then. Like, period. Don't tell me like, well, I really want to get this, but not for that price. All right, well, then you don't want to get it because that's what it costs. And that's the same thing with the Cowboys. Don't tell me you want to address this or get that and then not pay for it. It costs money. You either pay for it or you tell me you don't want it.
I used to work with a guy named Kevin Kiley.
Mm-hmm. I know Kevin Kiley.
Kevin Kiley. That also sounds like my Mickey impression, too.
I think everybody sounds like Mickey or Trump or Fish.
Yeah. So I don't have a whole lot of range. But
you're Keanu. Not a whole lot of range, but... likable.
Little bit of range, but not a whole lot of range. I have a better beard than Keanu.
Yes.
But he said there's no such thing as market value. That was his thing. There's no such thing as market value. And I think he owned a sporting goods store somewhere, so he thought he knew everything about business. But he would say there's no such thing as market value.
Let me tell you how much this Easton bat costs. Oh. Okay.
But I was like, that's a wild take. There's no such thing as market value. But I think the Cowboys obviously feel the same way. There's no such thing as market value because there's no market.
And they're wrong.
We set the market. The market is what we say it is. That's their viewpoint.
Yeah, and that's incorrect. Because when you're dealing with free agency, there's absolutely a market.
There's a market because there's somebody else that will throw the market off. See, Jerry comes from, I can negotiate you down. That's the world he comes from.
Because every now and then they get somebody like Osa who wants to be here.
Right.
And is willing to do that for them. See, that's the thing. They didn't win any negotiation with Osa. That was Osa being benevolent and saying, I will give you this.
Benevolent.
That's what he is.
Yeah.
He's saying, I will provide this for you. I will allow you to sign me at $20 million. I know what it says. This is what I want. At the end of the day, the power is still with Osa. That's nothing you did. That's what Osa wanted. Osa wanted to be here.
Kupp is just too expensive for what the Cowboys want to
Cooper
put
Kupp,
out there.
Yeah,
or at least right now he is.
Yeah, they don't want to play in those waters, however much that ends up being. But this has been a routine issue of we don't want to spend what it takes. All right, then you don't want to win. I don't know what to say. If you don't want to pay what it costs to get these players, it's wild the fact that they don't want to pay the money on the open market to get certain players, but then they're willing to trade away the draft capital that's way above the market.
Yeah.
They're willing to spend a fourth on Trey Lance, a fourth on Jonathan Mingo. How is that a comfort level for you.
Crazy.
But just the monetary value isn't.
Where is, like, what is the number that we agreed to Kupp yesterday? 12 million?
Yeah, that was the number we thrown out, like $12 million for Kupp.
And do you think it's still around there? And where
I mean, that was based off of Spotrac.
And where are the Cowboys comfortable, you think? 8?
I don't think the Cowboys would want to go up to 10 even. I would imagine the Cowboys, look, I mean, what we know from the Cowboys, they probably wouldn't want to spend more than 5 to 8, I would guess.
Oh, God. Man, I mean, if they wouldn't spend what Carolina spent on Rico, and they didn't, and Carolina, I mean, he only got to $6 million with incentives.
Yeah, and they still weren't willing to do that.
They still weren't willing to do that. They didn't want to go and they didn't want to keep Tank Lawrence for basically $18 million guaranteed over 3 years.
Look, if you don't want to add a receiver, okay, tell me you don't want to add a receiver. Say, I don't want to add one. If you don't want to add a corner, say, I don't want to add a corner. Fine, say all those things. Don't tell me you want to add them and you don't want to pay what it costs. Because that's not realistic. You don't want to add one then. Because that is what it costs. It drives me nuts. Because like I said, this is what we run into every now and then, like with me and Kristen, where she'll say something where she's like, well, I want to get this, but I don't want to pay that. So we're just going to have to wait around and find something. It's like, all right, well, you're going to wait around for nothing then, because that's not what it costs.
Yep, not anymore.
It doesn't cost that amount. You have to get comfortable paying an uncomfortable price. Yes, or just get comfortable with, I'm not going to have it.
Get comfortable without it.
And so the Cowboys need to get comfortable with, they're not going to have these things, and they might go 7-10 again. Maybe 5-12 with the way they've gotten picked over.
8.